This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Coming to you live from the ruins of Mandalore, we bring you the Nerdy Manroom show with your host, Hassel, Monster, and Big Rob in the house.
Yep, we got Big Rob returning this week to help out with the conversation as we discuss the Mandalorian. But before we get into that, let's do a quick thank you to our sponsor, These Own Collectibles. You can find them on the internet at theseowncollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at These Own Collectibles or in their store at 305 Main Street. Visit them for all your nerdy needs, from Legos to comics to trading cards, toys, games, and more. Help them support the local artist community by supporting their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. And with that, let's go straight into Geek Week, because I know we just recorded very recently. It's only been a few days, and everybody does have a, well, I'm not going to say I have a life, but I have a job that I go to in between that time. So not a whole lot of Geek Week updates, but I think we did just want to touch on, I think we all watched WrestleMania, so we just want to do a quick highlights and lowlights of the show, some takeaways. Not a full review, because both of you guys were reviewing it somewhat on your different shorts and review sections. So let's just do a quick talk about it and what you took away from it. So that's what I'll let you take off and go from there, sir.
It was almost like Triple H booked night one and Vince booked night two. That's the biggest gist of things. And then Vince booked all of Monday Night Raw. He has him and his creepy Vincent Price mustache. Which, have you seen the interview with him where he's like in video? He looks so much creepier in person.
I have not watched any video, and I haven't watched Raw either.
He didn't show on Raw. Now I will say that they said he was in Grill all night, and morale was in the shitter, and the speculation is backstage that if he's actually at SmackDown, they pretty well know all the Triple H regime is done for. But Triple H come out and done damage control. But back to Mania. Mania one night was a mixed bag. It had some really good spots. Then I had some kind of but I will say the last 5 minutes of Rhea Ripley and Charlotte was a fucking great match. I really enjoyed that. The tag team match, I didn't sleep through, was really great, and I didn't sleep through it because it was bad. I'm just fucking old, and it was 12 o'clock. Late, man. That was my thing. There was absolutely, after watching that too, there was zero reason why that should not have been combined into one night, a 4.5 hour, 5 max show. Because the only glimmer of anything on night two, Gunther's match was pretty good. That was a pretty damn good.
Yeah, that was a good match. But that also could have been the main event for SmackDown as the go home show. I mean, it did not have to be on.
That's not. It wasn't a Mania match. I mean, to me, which none of Omos and Lesnar was terrible.
Yeah,
and they just buried Omos. I mean, like, that's just your next big giant. You buried him. It's so evident they're making Bianca Belair the female John Cena. It is ridiculous. Like, you shit all over Asuka.
What was that, Rob?
I disagree with that. The fans were absolutely behind Bianca Belair. Don't get me wrong. I am a huge Asuka fan. I really wanted Asuka to win. I 100% did. But I don't think she's the next John Cena. I think the fans really are behind her, and that's why they keep pushing her. Just my opinion. Take it from
they're not shitting on her like they did Cena. They're not going, let's go Cena sucks or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But it's just evident that they're rocket to the moon a little much for me.
I would have liked to have seen a title change there, not necessarily even to Asuka, because I don't dislike either one of those, but at the same time, it's like, all right, it's the same. Bianca can only feud with the same people so many times, and there is nobody else. So I'm like, give somebody else I mean, I'd rather see Bailey and Becky actually feud with each other, or Bailey and Asuka feud for
Bailey wasn't even on Raw. Bailey and Damage Control wasn't even on Raw. That's just how a jumbled mess Raw was. I don't recall seeing Asuka.
I thought Damage Control was on there because I thought they lost to Liv and.
Okay, they had a tag match.
But Bailey was
the three is a core with Bailey. Yeah. Bailey was not on there. I don't recall seeing Asuka, Rhea, and Belair had a confrontation that looked to lead nowhere. It looked to be just meaningless because they both just like, well, when you're ready one day, and then they both part ways. It's like there's nothing else to this. Why do this?
I haven't watched Raw yet. I saw a few clips of things like the weirdest one to me was the whole Seth Rollins thing where it's like, hey, you won that match. I'm gonna go out and give a promo, and he walks out to the ring, hears everybody sing his music, and leaves. It's like you didn't even speak.
Literally, I think he went to commercial and come back, and he was singing and walking back up the ramp. It's like, Raw made no sense. There was not a good match on Raw. It was just bad.
So that's going to be interesting to see where they go from there because there's going to be changes, obviously. But you hear some of the reports that the board, the coming in board, as well as the ones who are sticking around, were fully behind Triple H booking everything and wanting him to, but then you see that there's smatterings of this looks like something Vince would do versus that. But man, I gotta say the whole Mania weekend, everything to me is the biggest. While there was some good matches, there was some that could have been left off. And honestly, you could have done some stuff like Gunther and them as the pre-show match instead of a 2-hour pre-show with no matches and just them talking and watching highlight packages. I
didn't realize they were doing a pre-show each night. It said 8 o'clock start time, so I didn't even turn it over to like.
I turned the first night. I turned it on the first night because I saw that they were doing a pre-show, and it was like 2 hours. I was like, oh, I wonder if those tag team matches are in that the 4-way tag team match. So I watched it for that, and after the first night, I was like, not again. And I say 2 hours. It was actually an hour and a half, but it's an hour and a half pre-show for nothing to happen on, just them talk.
Yeah. I was like, nope, well, the first night I tuned in 10 or 15 minutes early, I guess, and it was that. And the next night I tuned in at 7:57, and
I did the same thing on night 2. But man, that stuff combined with the Hall of Fame and 2 nights of 4 hours each night.
It was oversaturation last week.
It's too much, especially if you like NXT. I mean, because even NXT show was sometime in the afternoon on Saturday. I'm like, this is just too much at this point. I mean, I want to watch wrestling, sure, but I don't want that to be the only thing I want to watch. I mean, I want to watch some other shows I need to catch up on. I had a bunch of stuff I didn't catch up on until last night, Monday night, because we're recording on Tuesday. But I was like, man, I'm so far behind on other stuff because the whole weekend was sucked up by that. If I wasn't watching wrestling, I was not at the house.
It was literally Sunday evening before I was able to watch The Mandalorian from this week, and then we watched Terrifier 2 again. So that was my non-wrestling for this week. I'm sorry. Thrown into watching Farmer Needs a Wife episode as well. It's terrible. I don't recommend it. This is things that happen when you get married, people.
I don't mind some of those shows sometimes. I haven't seen that, but some of those shows.
My daughter come home and watched this shit, and now we have to watch it in our home because she watched the episode here. It's fucking awful. One of them's like a playboy. He's done kissed every girl there. The other one, he can't make a decision each week and keeps asking him to stay another week. And I'm laughing the whole time. I just kind of like casually walk by. I'm like, this is fucking brutal.
So I will watch some of the Netflix reality shows because they are so bad and so cringeworthy that it's like hilarious.
Well, that's how this is.
They have one called Love is Blind, and they meet each other in these little pods or whatever. They talk through the wall and stuff. They never see each other in person and decide if they want to get engaged within like 9 days or something.
Glory holes.
No, there's no holes for body parts to go through. But however, the editing on one of these shows, like there's this one girl talking to this guy, and he's like, well, I don't know if I want to get engaged to you. And I'm talking to this other person too, because it's speed dating basically inside these buildings. And they're trying to find out who they want to partner with. But like the girl comes out there, she's all crying, and as she opens the door, they starts playing that song. I can't remember exactly who sings it, but it's that I Say Something, I'm Giving Up on You. It's a song. And so every time he hits that part of the chorus, she just drops down and cries on the floor. I was like, this is just great cinematography. I could sit here and watch this all day because it is hilarious.
On this one here, they literally like they all live in this farmer's house, or there's 4 farmers, I think. And all 5 of the girls are there in each farmer's house at one time. And like they sit down to do dinner together like the polygamy family. And he'll be flirting with one. The other one's like getting just, could you come talk to me for a minute? And then they go off and share a moment. And oh, God, it's fucking brutal.
Oh, yeah. That's how all those Netflix
We
shows
got to tune in that again this week, though, guys.
The problem I have with all these reality dating shows, and I don't watch them. I watch the commercials and laugh about like Hassel does. The problem I have, everybody on every one of these shows is absolutely stunning, girls and guys.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
If you take the closest they ever did was what was it, Joe Millionaire a few years ago? That just take some regular schlup or take some ugly motherfucker like me. Put me in a pod and let me talk to a couple of supermodels and see if I can convince them to
yeah. These don't look like any farmer I've ever seen because we are South Georgia. We know what farmers look like. They don't look like these cats here.
Oh, wow.
And then you'll have one of these chicks randomly go, "I'm not going to compete, bitch. You come on this show to compete."
It's a competition.
Yes. What did you think you were coming on here for? I won't compete with these other ladies. I'm better than this.
So
you're not.
One of the worst ones, but also one of the funniest was this one on Netflix called Sexy Beasts. And I don't know if either of you, they painted these people up and put them behind like prosthetic makeup and all to go out on dates.
You told me about this one.
Then you look at these people, there was not a single ugly person. And once they unmasked them, these people were like, "Ooh, I should have made that choice." And then the next person's like, "Ooh, they're even better."
Every one of them was like supermodel gorgeous. I watched that one and it was hilarious.
Yeah, but I'm like, why are these people on this show? Because they are not ugly. I'm like, you are not having a hard time finding a date. I'm sorry.
They're actors wanting their 15 minutes of fame.
That's exactly what it is.
They're actors or models or something like that.
And I'll say, I think, Rob, you told me to watch the Sexy Beast one because I looked at it and was like, I'm not watching this. And you're like, no, this is hilarious. You remember the one girl who was very dramatic that was dressed up like a panda? She was on another one of their shows recently and got engaged to a guy from another one of their shows. So it's like, my God, these people.
The panda didn't make it with this one. She's moved on to here. Ugh.
I did. I would that one and I laughed myself to death the entire way through it.
I'm telling you, all of Netflix are like that way. Every single one of their shows like that are just hilarious. If you have the time to sit there and turn it on and just watch it, the whole show is not interesting. You will doze off here and there, but there are points in it where you're like, man, I just cannot turn away. It's like watching a train wreck. You just have to see what happens because it's so stupid. Like these people are really, really dumb. But with that, I think that kind of winds up Geek Week for us. So let's move straight to our focus topic. And we are going to talk today about The Mandalorian. And Hassel, Rob, I'm going to let you guys kick us off as to what we're going to talk about in here because we plan these out much more in depth of what we're talking, but we have not planned this one fully in depth. So this might go off the rails, but we're going to see where it ends up at. We're not real sure where we're going with it just yet.
That's what we're talking about.
That is probably one of the best parts of there is the music of the show.
Oh, the music's outstanding.
I love the Western theme to this.
Well, yes. It's designed to be kind of like a Western. If you listen to interviews.
Spaghetti Westerns. And I'll stop there before Disney sues us. But, yeah. I'm a big fan of Dingy Jar, and I love him. Love him.
So have you seen lately, though, that the rumors now are like, because the title is The Mandalorian, not Mandalorians, not multiple ones, not a Mandalorian. Who is the Mandalorian? So
Pedro is leaving the starring positions while they're making a scene.
Well, there's theories too. Where is that going to be Bo-Katan at this point? Because her show did get canceled, and they've kind of pushed her into a leadership role in this. And then there's other people who are saying that Grogu is the Mandalorian because he's going to grow up and actually be a Mandalorian with Force sensitive powers.
And another 100 years, I mean, he's 60 already, and he's just a little foundling. I mean, no, he's 100 years away from it. Me and Big Rob, we had a conversation about this Sunday. Because I feel like the armor has some nefarious actions up her fucking helmet. This bitch ain't being truthful.
You leave the darkness alone.
I'm just telling you something. Like, I've been a big Armorer fan the entire time. However, this week, she's got some shit schemed up. I'm telling you.
So I will say this. First of all, they made her extremely badass in this week's episode.
Oh man,
with tongs and a hammer, she's just tearing people up. But did you notice? I gotta say this because and then this is gonna be the unpopular opinion, but as much as I like this show, it waxes and wanes a lot for me. Like you'll have some very boring points in almost every episode, and you'll have some very high points in almost every episode. And then there's some episodes altogether that I was like, it was okay, but it wasn't great. But like this last week was probably the best episode they've done to me, short of Luke showing up in those last few minutes, and that was only that part of it. But honestly, it's also the shortest runtime they've had too.
Also, I'm general. I feel it reminds me a lot of Supernatural, where you get like a couple really good episodes, and then you have that one stinker that is out of nowhere. It's like
that's fair.
That's kind of the vibe of Supernatural, but other than the fact that they had like 24 episodes a season, but you're not gonna get that with the Mandalorian. But I'm always typically, like I said, you have that episode here or there that's kind of like not the one with the villainous emperor chick, and where she sets old homeboy up and gets his ass mind wiped. That was so. I didn't care about these characters. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, go ahead, Rob. You were going to say something.
I was going to agree with Hassel on that because, like, I'm assuming there's a payoff somewhere later this season, but I kind of need that payoff to come sooner than later because I already didn't care after season 1 about these people. So to bring them back, and I know they were in season 2 a little bit, but to bring them back and devote almost an entire episode to them
was a bit much.
Very soon because I already don't care.
Well, you pretty well know she's working for grandma for whatever. He's escaped, so they're still working together, and she's doing her little manipulation through whatever acting reform. Because she pretty well Jedi mind tricked the ladies' man on there. Just like.
I really.
I will say that I like that as a subplot, but they could have run that as a subplot with little scenes to be like 3 or 4 episodes versus making it one whole. Because watching that as one whole episode was not great, but I love the story they told of that because it showed another side of like, okay, it's not just these people out here always fighting in some kind of civil war type thing. It actually showed the human element plus the stuff, but it's like it was too much in one episode. Like if you spread that out, it'd have been much more entertaining.
Well, like a segment here, a segment there throughout a few episodes. That would be a little more appealing. But to kind of just get it all together, and I don't know why. Homeboy looked just like Sammy Davis Jr. to me. I kept looking because like I know this guy, and I was like, damn, he looked like Sammy Davis. And I was just thinking of Sammy Davis making that liquor drink one. But it was a ladies' man. So. The monster has the space cough.
I do, man. I can't get rid of it for whatever reason. It's the changing weather here. It's been storming, and then now it's like 75 degrees out there, and everything's in the air. So it's been rough. But back to man.
We literally had a storm out of nowhere Saturday. I had a tree fall.
I warned you about those trees when I was there.
Well, the city done jam up job. They saw the tree up and left the remnants in my yard. God bless them.
But they do a favor. You use it for, something.
Now they're cutting 8-foot segments, and they're fucking huge. This is not no small tree. The good tree fell, so it's like literally this big around.
Oh damn!
Yeah, you're not rolling it. I'll put it that way. I'm not. I'm old and lazy.
Oh, let's jump back to Mando though. So, Rob, we don't get you on here very often, so I'm gonna let you take a couple minutes to give us your impression, your rundown, whatever you want to share about the show that really draws you in or annoys you.
Right. So, I appreciate that. I can't say too much because I'm. You guys know I am the Star Wars fanboy, so I don't really have a whole lot that I can say against the show. I will agree that there has been some kind of low points. As I agreed with you guys, the stuff on Coruscant was not that interesting. But I feel like Din Djarin is going to keep being the Mandalorian, even though it does seem like they're swerving towards Bo-Katan. I think that's just a swerve, and either to set her up, either to disappear for a few months or for the rest of the season, whatever, or else to add her in maybe to the Ahsoka show or something. I don't know.
Well, she's an extremely interesting co-star.
Oh yeah,
you know, supporting character. That's the word I'm looking for. I don't want to see the show with her. I mean, to me, if anyone other than, you know, Pedro as the Mandalorian, I don't know if I'm as invested.
Right. Well, because we spent 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, half a season of Book of Boba Fett, and now we're 5-6 episodes into this season. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard. It'd be a hard pill to swallow to all of a sudden change up who the main character is. But I mean, it's all like we was talking about Sunday. That's all speculation from the internet, and God knows how accurate that always is. You know,
it's everywhere though. I will say that it has taken a life of its own because I literally see
all over the place.
Yes, I see all these like clickbaits like once a day at least on a different side or different something.
Yeah, that's true. But you know, this week's episode is supposed to be number one. It's 44 minutes long, so I mean that's huge, and it's Bryce Dallas Howard, and she is directing this episode.
She does great.
She's done some of the best episodes so far. So I got a feeling, number one, this one's going to start bringing us to something new, and I think it's going to be an amazing episode.
Do we get the actual mythosaur, you reckon, at some point?
I hope so. I kind of want to see Bo-Katan riding the mythosaur show back up on Navarro.
I will say this. I do feel like she's going to get the black saber back at some point. Dark saber, whatever the hell it is. I love for her to get the dark saber and become the leader of the Mandalorian clan there, to bring them together and all that there. But it's not going to be her show, I don't think.
Right, and it doesn't have to be for her to bring Mandalore together. It doesn't have to be her show. We can still have it be about Din Djarin and Grogu, and that's what has drawn everybody in so far. Anyway, I think is that father-son dynamic. I mean, that's what we want to see. I don't think they're going to
his family.
And let's take a minute though too to recognize. And Rob, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I wanted to recognize, you know, the fact that Pedro Pascal, this dude has been in a ton of stuff. Like if you look back at his filmography, it is full. But
he is so versatile as well.
But the first thing that really blew him up was this show. I mean, really and truthfully, the thing that made him a household name was this show. And now, every time you have an orphan that needs to be escorted somewhere, he takes over the show because he's got this and The Last of Us. But I don't even remember his name in anything I've seen him in before until I look back and I'm like, wow, he was in that. I mean, one of his earliest roles was a vampire on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I used to love that show. But I'm like, I don't even remember
I'm
him
on
in
Game
that
of
show.
Thrones, so I know him as the Viper from there. So that was my first flashback that I remembered him in, you know.
But even with him being in a show that popular, you really didn't hear his name like you heard Emilia Clarke, Jason Momoa, some of the others that were in that show. It's like he was just there. I mean, he did, from what I understand, I didn't watch it. He did a good part there, but again, he was just kind of there.
He done an amazing job, but he was only there for like maybe 6 episodes, just enough to make you like believe in true Game of Thrones fashion. They slayed the shit out of him, but
man, this show has done such wonders for his career, honestly.
And I'm hoping that ain't the real reason why we keep getting this speculation. It ain't a deal where he's wanting to move on to do something else. You know, you heard that there was some problems in, what was it, in the season 1 or season 2 where he's really adamant about wanting to show his face. Which you don't have to. You're the most popular fucking character on Disney Plus. We don't need to see your face. I mean, that's just the way it is. This is the way. But I don't want to see anyone other than him lead the show.
HBO as well.
Well, see, that's the thing. He's doing the, what is that? The Last of Us.
Yeah.
As I said, it really need to see his face. Then you can pay for HBO as well and see his face over there.
Well, see, that's what worries me is has that show blown up enough that he can
Well, that's the thing is, where does that show go? Because that show, if you watch the first season, that show runs the entire first game. So at the end, there's only 2 of those games. At the end of the first game is where that ends. He dies. His character dies in the second game. So if season 2 is the exact same as the game again, and they don't like take time between those to tell more stories from in between game 1 and game 2, then basically his character would be killed off within the first 2 to 3 episodes.
Yeah, but if there is no game 3, I have never played it. Shame on me. But they can open end it. I mean, you can take the elements you want from the second game, use them kind of like with the Walking Dead. I mean, there's elements of the book they took or manipulated. There's characters that's in the show that's not in the book, and vice versa.
And yes, you can. But this show was absolutely short of like 1 episode where they told a backstory for characters who were already dead in the first game, and they just kind of briefly touched on their story, and they showed the whole backstory for them. And that 1 episode, short of that, this was word for word, basically from the game. I mean, they took the exact script from the game and everything. So that's where I'm wondering, what do you do? Obviously, they can do different, but what do they do different? Are they going to do anything different?
Well, I will give HBO and the showrunners credit then, because I mean, I am all for faithful adaptations. Y'all know me. I don't like to derive from what the fucking core mythology is. So, kudos.
Okay, but all right. So my question then is this: even if Last of Us does blow up and they keep Pedro Pascal's character alive, this ain't like 10 or 15 years ago where you have, like you was talking about Supernatural, 24 episodes a season.
Yeah.
This is 2023. 8 to 10 episodes is about all the season you got. Unless they're filming at the exact same time, there's really no reason that he can't do both shows, at least for a while.
And especially the way Disney does their shows, because once they finish a show about a character, there's typically a long, year-long at least break before they come back to that one, because they'll do different shows in between. Yes, he came back in Boba Fett and had a whole episode dedicated to him, which kind of took away from that show in general. But at the same time, like his show was a whole year between airings because they did Boba Fett in between and they did Obi-Wan. So when he leaves now, when they finish this season, he's probably going to have at least another year-long break.
Don't put that on us, Ricky Bobby.
Well, there's already discussion too that Disney and even all the backstage people at Disney are saying, okay, yes, this is kind of getting towards the end of the story we're going to stop the story for the Mandalorian at a certain point, and somewhere in the middle of it, you're not going to get the end of it in a TV show. It might be movies or something later. So how many more seasons do they actually even run?
I'd rather have the show than the movie, I'll be honest with you, because these shows, minus an episode here or there with a lot of CG stuff that you can kind of tell it and is qualityed up as a movie, 98% of them are movie quality, and you get, I got to wait the next week, but you get fucking 8 hours of it versus, a 3-hour movie max. Yeah. And 3 hours is a bit much. Me and my wife, we rewatched Kenobi again just last week. I'm sorry, the week before, because we watched it alone a couple nights in a row. That's the third time I've seen Kenobi. It's fucking great every time.
And I guess what brought that up is because I looked at stuff earlier today, and it's like you have a lot of backstage politics at Star Wars and Disney in general. A lot of the fans hate Kathleen Kennedy for whatever reason. There's multiple reasons for people to like or dislike her and her way of show running everything, but she's telling everyone that as far as she's concerned, stuff at season 4 will be the last of Mandalorian, and then you got Jon Favreau, and everyone's saying, no, season 4 is hopefully not the end. We plan on doing more, but
I think honestly, if Favreau wants it, it's going to happen. Him and Filoni, man, they're fucking money in the bank for Disney.
I thought that Filoni or Favreau, I can't remember which one. I thought one of them just went on record as saying that they would be making Mandalorian as long as the fans wanted it.
Yeah, one of them said that, but Kathleen Kennedy, who is the executive for Lucasfilm, is saying no.
Lay that bitch off too. Didn't just lay off one of the Disney execs?
Yeah, the guy that actually sold Marvel to him.
Yeah, poor bastard. I mean, if Disney's struggling, I had to lay people off. Hit that bitch with a layoff.
that's the concern with all streaming platforms right now, right? Everybody is struggling. Everyone is laying different people off. They're not making their money back on the streaming that they thought they would.
No.
And then I've seen other stuff too come out. Like Disney went on a canceling spree, and like the show that we were talking about earlier, the Doogie Kamealoha, which was it's a Doogie Howser reboot, soft reboot for lack of a better term, but it's they just they were doing those as weekly episodes just like they do the Mandalorian and everything, but now they're saying they just dropped the whole season at once, and we're trying to give it a chance to see if binge watching was better than weekly episodes because we were getting lost interest over time. Ratings were dropping on it. Same thing with some of their other shows they canceled, like Mighty Ducks, Big Shot, some of these others, and then you look at their theory on Marvels. They said they come out the other day and said that they are going to take a step back and say we're not going to produce we're going to limit the number of movies and shows in 1 year that we produce because we're trying to increase quality over quantity, because the quality was dropping on a lot of them in the fans' eyes at least.
Well, I mean, this was something you and I talked about, Monster. I mean, when you have all these streaming services like this, and certain content is exclusive to certain platforms, you have a major surge initially. And oh shit, I got to sign up for this platform here so I can watch this show. Well, typically 9 out of 10 times, most people they stay on. They don't drop off. I mean, it's
right.
You have some people that want to save that $7 a month. God bless them, and so they get a candy bar and a fucking honey bun one day of the week. But you have those people. Most people continue to stream, so there is no more major influx. And at the time, they try to do too much, getting some of these platforms off the ground with all their original content. Original content's fucking expensive, especially if you do quality. And that's what bit Netflix in the ass. They try to do too many high budget movies, and we all share Netflix accounts. So, or you'll get your money back at. It's not going to happen. I mean, everybody buys their own Disney, but then look at Disney too. Okay, you get a year free with your cell phone a lot in most places if you hadn't already got it.
Yep.
And then after that, it's what, $6-7 a month. But then some of them's doing premium pluses. Like I didn't realize I thought I had the top notch Peacock until WrestleMania, and it was like your Peacock Premium Plus members can see how this all came about. And
yeah,
I kept the commercial, and I was like, what the fuck?
So they pay like $15 a month versus your $5.35 or $36, whatever it is.
I watch Raw each week. I don't need to watch that third again.
Oh, by the way, Disney is up to $11 a month according to the email. Yeah.
Well, see, this is probably why my wife wants access to my bank account because I don't know what I pay.
Well, I have the bundle. I have the bundle where I pay for Hulu, Disney, and ESPN.
I think that's what I have.
The only reason I got ESPN because it was like a cent more because like the Hulu and Disney together is like $13.99 or something. Like I just checked because I just got charged for Disney today. My Disney is $7.55 and my Hulu is $8.41, and then I get charged 1 penny for ESPN once a month.
Well, see, I think I do the bundle as well, but I do the Hulu Live, so mine's like $75 a month, something like that. And I probably have the ESPN. I just haven't signed up for it just because there's never shit on it. So.
Yeah, I pay for them, but then again, I pay for the versions with commercials and everything. I'm like, I'll pay the cheapest package that they offer just because it's not worth anything extra to me. I want to watch the shows, and if I got a commercial break, well, hey, I can go to the restroom, and if I got to wait a day to watch it versus watching it today, who cares? Because I don't watch half the stuff on the day it comes out anyway.
Well, I get the live just because of sports. I mean, I want to be able to watch Raw, AEW, the Braves, the Falcons, Georgia Bulldogs. I want to be able to watch them live. So I wait. Plus, everybody in the house uses it enough. I mean, my daughter, she scams on me and watches it from college, and I got enough leeches. It's worth my money to do that. But then again, I also pay like $13, $14 a month for fucking YouTube Premium. And I probably don't even need it anymore. The whole reason I bought it was because at the time I was still, I would download podcasts and just listen to them. You can shut your screen off with YouTube Premium. Yeah. Plus, you download it, but I had no signal. I can still listen to it.
Yeah, see, I took the route of going to the Amazon Music, the free version of Amazon Music. I thought you you have to pay to download music, but podcasts you can download for free and still
Okay.
listen. Unless there's certain ones that won't let you, but like I have a very limited, like only 4 or 5 podcasts I listen to on it, so I download those and save them to the phone and then just listen to them that way.
Well, Amazon Prime and Amazon Music gets me each month as well. And the Amazon Music I really only use during the pool season, because I'll sit there and stream it to the speaker out by the pool and blast music because I can pick my own playlist. I mean, they're hooked up to all the Alexas in the house, but
see what you do with Amazon Music is the free version of Amazon Music. If you can get it to where you can replay a song for a month there and just pay for a month, keep replaying the same songs, then you can download your frequently played list, and it doesn't matter if you pay for it or not. You get to keep the frequently played ones. I found no cheat to that system for the moment.
Yeah. Well, I listen to the same 200 songs as I have in my playlist. That's I don't venture out away from that. I'm a creature of habit. It's the same playlist. Half of it's want to cut your wrist and sad, and the other half we want to slay a goat.
You have to be careful with doing the method I did to get the music on there, because I fell asleep one time trying to replay some of the songs, and then on my frequently played list, when it downloaded all the ones that I frequently play, it somehow, because Mr. Roboto came on there, now that's stuck on the list and I can't get rid of it.
It's terrible.
Because you have to download the whole playlist of your frequently played. So I'm like, damn, I can't get rid of that one. I just have to skip it. Yeah, it's interesting. But speaking of robots, that's probably one of the few things that I can say about The Mandalorian. It's really one of my absolute favorite things. And I know we're getting close to time, so we'll start winding this up in a minute. But I love the fact that on this show, more than a lot of the others, they give the droids so much personality. Like, the droids are so alive on this show. Like, they try to do it here and there on others. Like, you had one in Obi-Wan that was kind of like that, but then the rest of them were just droids. Like, every droid they introduce on this show has a different personality. Like, I love the one he picked up, the R5 or whatever. It's like,
yeah.
He's like, go down there, and that thing's like, what? It killed
He's a little coward.
That, and you had was it IG-11?
That was my favorite. He is my favorite of the bunch. He's right up there with the droid from Rogue One for me.
Yeah, so you had that in the movie. Like, R2 had a personality, C-3PO had a little bit of one, but he was more the straight guy to the R2-D2's color commentary. But the droid from Rogue One was great. But like a lot of these other shows and stuff, the droids are just there. But I love how they've given a lot of these personalities. Every one of them seems to have a different one.
Yeah, I like the little callback they had with the Rogue Squadron pilot, as he's like, I had an old friend here in this last week's episode. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I've noticed that I wonder if you're going to get any more. We're going to get any more of the Rebels characters in this. Cause I know they're bringing them back up in Ahsoka, but we saw. I don't know if it was actually supposed to be Zeb from Rebels or just one of his race that we saw in this last week's episode. And then you had Sabine is obviously a Mandalorian.
It was credits. That is Zeb.
Was it? I wasn't sure. I didn't watch the full credits.
Did you see where across the bar somebody is panned in with it? It was like them two standing there. Across the bar, the back shot looks like Cad Bane.
No, that's Dave Filoni.
Really?
In the cowboy hat? Because there was a thing because Filoni created Zeb with Rebels. It was that was the whole thing, was him looking at his creation.
Oh,
that's pretty neat. Yeah,
okay.
Was Cad killed off?
Yeah.
By this point.
Well, that's what was curious about to me. I didn't know this was supposed to be a subtle nod because it was like from behind. You didn't get the facial, and that was kind of what some fans were speculating, like it was just a subtle nod. But
now,
I would think that timeline-wise, he's murdered.
Oh yeah, he's gone.
Well, any final thoughts or theories or anything we want to throw out there? Because I know we're getting close to time to wind up the conversation on this and move into Nerd Out. So, anything else anyone wants to throw out there?
Big Rob, I know you got to have something. Come on, buddy.
No, other than the R5 unit that we were just talking about. As far as I know, that's R5D4. the first time we seen him was in, episode 4 of New Hope. He had a bad motivator. And I mean, that's just, to me, the fact that you brought him back from 1977 and he's still going, he's still part of the rebellion. Hey, there you go. I just thought that was cool. And the fact that he did fly. And if you haven't looked, the guy that plays Carson Teva, the pilot, his Twitter account is so awesome because he literally responds to everybody's comments on his Twitter feed. And just for one of them, he uses a GIF from his other show, Kim's Convenience, which
fantastic show.
And his Twitter feed is just like it's the brightest part of my day is watching him respond to his fans. He's always so happy, and so you can tell he loves Star Wars as much as we do,
Oh yeah, he actually brought that up a couple times. Like when he won some awards for Kim's Convenience, and they were talking after so what do you think about the show and everything? He's like, I love it and all stuff, but my favorite thing is just getting cast in Star Wars. He was begging for a spot on something they were doing just because he loves it so much. But man, I gotta tell you that's actually one of the best comedies I've ever watched is Kim's Convenience. He was hilarious as the father in that.
To me, that's always awesome to see him on the show because it was so great.
There was something I was reading recently, and it said that, how he had the bad motivator, as you said, talking about R4. Apparently, it's, I don't know if maybe it's in the novelization or one of the comics they've done recently or what, but supposedly him and R2 knew each other, and R2 told him about the mission he had, and he blew his motivator so that R2 could be the droid they selected.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I can't remember where that's from either, but I do know what you're talking about, and yeah, I do remember seeing that, and I thought that was really cool that he did that on purpose, basically. So
it almost makes him seem a little more heroic than the chicken shit he is on the show.
Hey, listen, I wouldn't have gone into those caves either. No.
Which I want to say the trick they did with the droid this week were the green version of R2-D2 where the little headpiece comes out and went there and kind of scouted around. That was pretty fucking cool. I hadn't seen that before.
No, that was neat. Yeah,
no,
I don't think I've ever. Do what?
I was just saying, I don't think I've ever seen that in any other Star Wars stuff. I just thought it was really cool. And because, you've seen that for years, R2 had it, he just kind of used it as a telescoping eye, but to know it could detach and actually do something was like, oh shit, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, that was super legit. And I will honorable mention, I know Monster said it's about time to wrap up, but the first time, a couple episodes ago, that big spider droid, the other droid that General Grievous' cousin was in, dude, how awesome was that?
That was badass. That was. Monster, you are having technical difficulties.
Yeah, that's all right. I was just gonna say that was an interesting looking droid. It reminded me of the big spider thing that comes up in Return of the Jedi when he's going to Jabba's palace.
Ooh,
our monks.
Yeah.
Rob, we didn't get to ask you. I think me and Monster may have talked about it on the show a few weeks back. How did you feel about Jar Jar returning as a heroic Jedi, saving young Grogu?
That was awesome. I love that. I mean, best man, he made a great Jedi. Kel or something like that. I can't remember his name. I really love that. I thought that was awesome.
And did you also get the nod that it was a Naboo ship that he left off on, that Grogu left on, and they were saying that, hey, that since Padme was gone at this point, the only one who could have sent that ship for him would have been Jar Jar.
Oh, needs to send a shipper for you.
God knows if they bring him back as Jar Jar this season, I'm going to be pissed though.
He better be a fucking Sith. He better be a fucking Sith. I'm telling you.
I could deal with it that way.
That would be awesome.
He needs to kill you now.
Well, before Jar Jar returns, we will go ahead and move into Nerd Out, which for anyone who hasn't been here before, this is a part of the show where we ask random questions about somewhat centered around the topics of the day. We have no prep time to answer, but we love to hear not only our answers, but yours as well. So please feel free to expand on our answers or provide your own in the comment section. So with that, Rob, since you're the visitor here again this week, we're going to turn it over to you to ask the first question.
I knew you were going to do that. And I've been trying to think of a question all freaking week, since we decided that I was going to be able to come back again.
Well, it looks like the light bulb's on above your head, so.
Yeah.
The light blue.
You need my hater blockers?
Yeah. I have nothing right now. One of you guys go. I'll try and come up with something.
Okay.
I'm appalled. You come on our show as an honored guest, and you've got no fucking question prepared.
You show up half the time without one, too.
I have none today.
Well, fine. I'll go first then, because I do. So I'll throw it out there, and then you guys can debate over who wants to answer first. But so, which character or group of characters from the Star Wars universe that already don't have a TV show announced, or they're not a lead in one of the movie franchises, parts of it, who would you like to see get their own show, and how would you like to see it, like as animated, live action, whatever?
Does it have to be like an established character in the new canon, or
no? Any Star Wars canon, whether it's what do they call it now, legacy, expanded universe, whatever it is at this point, past stuff. It can be any character from any point in time,
as long as they're not a part of one of the ongoing shows, correct?
Or the lead in a movie. Like I'm saying, let's not do like a Luke Skywalker show because we already have him in the movies, right?
Right.
How fucking cool would it be to have the animated Qui-Gon training Obi-Wan to become one with the Force? But you said no, so go, Rob. You got it.
So, okay. I don't know how this would work as a show. Maybe it will be kind of the Star Wars version of National Geographic. But what I would love, and I'm okay with animated just for the cost associated, I would almost love to see a show where every episode, every week, whatever, let's go visit a different planet in the Star Wars universe and tell us a little bit about it. Give us a little history. Give us a little, tell us what kind of races live there. Are they aligned with the Empire or the Rebels? And because, number one, I really hate the fact that every time they need a planet now, they come up with a new planet when the expanded universe legacy had so many amazing planets that they could bring over. But at the same time, I would love to see more about the planets. Like, I would love to know more about Navarro. I would love to know more about Jakku. To me, I think that would be cool, and it would be almost like a National Geographic kind of show, and it would be totally different than anything they've done before, I think.
That would be real interesting to get the history part, and then if you had a host of it that was like a comedic character from the canon, so from somewhere in canon, let's make Jar Jar the host of the show.
Misa no tunes in.
And then he only gives the beginning and the end and maybe a few jokes, and then you have a narrator who does the rest of it. That would be kind of interesting though. Actually, I'd sit down and watch that all the time, honestly.
We'll have Saul Guerrero narrate it. God, that would be bleak as fuck, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I have an answer. Let's have a spinoff with Third Sister detailing her trials and trying to come back to the path of the Jedi, or becoming a great Jedi, possibly. And, dealing with her post-traumatic stress. And I don't know, that would be interesting. Because, she was an interesting enough villain. And she got a slight taste of redemption, but she wasn't fully redeemed just by not killing Luke. This is a fucking child. You were a youngling yourself, almost got murdered. So I can see how the PTSD would just keep you from doing that. So what have they done? A show that tracked her journey, along the way, maybe some fallen master, Force Ghost with her a little bit to try to help redeem her. And I'm not even talking about hell, maybe this is where Mace Windu could do a Force Ghost. Because if Qui-Gon done it, Mace had to have. So, what was it? Hey, look here, motherfucker. I'm here to help. I tune in.
I'd watch that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Monster.
Oh, go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say, I really love that Hassel. Third Sister got shit on so bad.
I didn't understand the hate. I didn't get that. She was a great character.
She was a great character, and the lady, and I can't remember her name, that played her, I thought did an amazing job.
Mm-hmm.
I would watch the stew out of that, and I mean, if you use Mace Windu Force Ghost, or any other, yeah, I know. I can't talk real good.
Mace Windex, he's real clean.
Just don't have those snakes on this motherfucking starship.
These motherfucking mythosaurs on a motherfucking plane.
I'd watch that though. I think it'd be interesting.
That would be. For me, I would actually like to do I don't remember if it was called Jedi Tales or Tales of the Jedi, and I know we had a Jedi Tales animated series, but I want Tales of the Jedi like the ones from before the Old Republic, even like the comic series they had. And now, Rob, I know you'll know a lot of these, but characters like Nomi Sunrider, Eula Kincaid, Diorama, some of those that were precursors to the Great Sith War and stuff like that. I'd actually like to see that. I think you'd be able to do it more often. You'd probably be better off to do that animated, because those series of comics, if you were adapting them, were about a certain amount of characters for X number of issues, and then it changed to different characters for different stories. So to do that live action would be very hard, but I'd rather see it live action. But I can see where that would be hard, because you'd have to constantly change your cast, and nobody's going to sign on to do a show where you're here for 5 episodes and you're gone unless you're already well established. It's not like you're going to become the star. But I would actually rather see a live action, but I could see where it would work probably better as an animated. But I'd actually like to see that stuff that they've given up on, basically.
I don't know. Walking Dead and Game of Thrones signed people up for 5 or 6 episodes and then killed them off. So why not?
Did they?
Both
had a clear. It was like you knew who was fucking dying, because on both shows it was the same formula. You started out hating this son of a bitch, and then somehow they slowly had this path of redemption. To even though there was a scummy motherfucker still, you liked them. And the second you liked them, like I'll never forget, I was sitting there watching an episode where Noah died, and literally at the first of this episode, he's dying. I knew it. Like as soon as he sat next to the little old man and was like, "I'd like to learn about archaeology or architects," I was like, "Oh, he's done. He showed redeeming qualities. He's done." He died 30 minutes later.
Yeah, I can see where it's harder for them for established shows like that, though. Most of those actors who come in and out of there are already going to move on to something else. But something like this, where you were trying to get it off the ground and make it popular as well, I don't know that they would have people who would sign up to stay only for half a season or something.
Right. I really like that idea. And I would like it to be live action too. But if you did do it animated, then you could keep the same cast and they could just play different parts.
Right.
Which parts? But
how cool would it be to have some expansion verse like between episodes, 6 and 7, with Luke and Leia and Han and everybody, Chewbacca as an animated version? Because they're too old to play those characters anymore.
Well,
you could hire Sebastian Shaw to do, Luke, but how you can get by on Han and all the others? But an animated form on that, you could probably lure at least a sound alike with Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford, which I don't know. He's pimping himself out pretty cheap these days. He's in every fucking thing now.
Well, Mark Hamill can come back and do Luke's voice, and he actually does a good Harrison Ford impression. If you've seen some of the interviews where he does those,
he can't be a bigger asshole. I promise you.
But with that, so which one of you guys has a question ready now? Because I got mine off my plate.
I got one. So you're gonna love this shit. All right. The show is in the Star Wars universe. We'll even go maybe Book of Boba Fett. Somehow, some way, Rick fucking Grimes shows up with his red handle machete. How does this go?
And
Carl's already dead, so
what are you looking for? A story arc with Rick?
Yeah, give me what you got. How do you see that playing out? Rick and Michonne. We'll go like that. She shows up with her fucking. She gets a lightsaber. She gets a blaster.
Nice. But that maybe that's what those black helicopters were. Whatever. So there's really other than the two novels that were legacies, there's not really been any zombies in the Star Wars universe. So if Rick and Michonne did land on Tatooine in Book of Boba Fett, then I think number one, they're gonna be really fucking excited that they don't have to eat messed up canned beans and run from zombies for a constant time. But I don't know. I think Rick actually being a lawman is probably going to come at odds of Boba Fett, even though he's trying to be a benevolent dictator. He's still outside the law. I think they might start off, but they might come to blows on that one, and Rick might end up in carbonite. I'll be honest with you.
Ooh, you don't believe my boy? You don't think my boy can take Bubba?
Listen, I love Rick. I really do. I think he's too out of his element. Now, I think if Boba Fett came to Earth, then Rick might have the win there. But on Tatooine, I'm going to give it to Boba Fett just because he's got the home field advantage mostly. And Phoenix Kane is going to snipe the shit out of Michonne from 5,000 yards. And she just did.
She's going to block that with her samurai sword, motherfucker.
So you went an entirely different direction I was going to go, because I realize Hassel put it in Book of Boba Fett, and in that case, I think you're right. I think they both end up dead very quickly, to be perfectly honest. I mean, these are characters that use projectile and bladed weapons. So you put them in a laser gun and rocket launcher area, they're probably going out quickly. However, what I would like to see would be Rick and Michonne dropped on Dathomir, where the Night Brothers and Night Sisters that have to deal with those mystic type characters. That would be more interesting to me, because that's kind of what they deal with zombies, right? I realize Night Brothers are alive, but a lot of Night Sisters are not, and it's mostly ghouls or ghosts or whatever you want to call it from there. So them dealing with that would be more interesting to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Hassel's going to disagree with us on how quickly they die, though.
Fuck am I? Are you kidding me? Because first of all, this is Rick motherfucking Grimes. This ain't some jabroni we talking about here. I mean, he got his red head on a machete, motherfucker. But, so they're going to show up on Tatooine. They're not looking for trouble. They're happy that they think they've escaped the zombie apocalypse. They're confused, bewildered, not knowing, but trying to blend in. Of course, they bring the suspicion of Boba and his people. This is where the plot twist goes, and this is where a fucking walker shows up and starts fighting fucking aliens. Then we got alien walker. And then that's what Rick has to teach Boba how to fucking be a bad motherfucker, and Rick winds up Mandalorian armor.
Well, the humanoid aliens, maybe, because they're humans, so they're spreading the virus. But
alien
physiology, we're not sure that this virus is going to spread to them.
It does. In my universe, it does.
You got a lot of universes in your head, don't you?
You don't want us in this head. It's scary as fuck.
I believe that.
So I think the Walking Dead mythology established at some point that everybody that is alive has the zombie virus inside of them. That's why when everybody dies, they get an ice pick behind the ear to keep them from reanimating.
But originally, it wasn't that way. It took some time for it to become airborne.
No, I'm saying. So by the time Rick and Michonne land on Tatooine, they brought the virus with them. So that's basically their So it's their fault.
So they have to kill anyone. That person becomes the first zombie. So then you ain't got to transport no walkers. Problem solved. Thank you, Rob. You are a fucking amazing co-pilot.
I mean, I'll get behind you on this train, and we'll go. We'll run it.
I'm just saying, a zombie Wookiee. Ooh, that's got legs. Legs is fucking tall.
That's pretty terrifying.
It is, actually.
It could be, yes.
So I've got a question for you, if you guys want to hear it.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, all right. So last year, because my memory's terrible. So we got Star Wars Visions, the 10-part, I think 8-part anthology, Masters of Anime, retold Star Wars stories in their vision in an anime style. Not necessarily. It's my question then, and actually there's a season 2 of that coming. I'm really excited. So my question is this: give me a story that you guys want to retell, and tell me how you would twist it. It doesn't necessarily have to be Eastern philosophy because we're not anime experts, but give me something that you would twist just a little bit. Give me your Star Wars vision that makes it a little bit different. Any established Star Wars. I'm not taking anything off the table for that.
And I'm gonna, before I even answer, you just channeled your best Dr. King Schultz. Would you give me your Black Slaver? Wow. Django all the way, baby. You just hit us with it. So it has to be a twist, though, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it can't be. I mean, it doesn't have to be a huge twist, but you got to turn it just a little. Just just a little Twilight Zone twist if you want to do horror, but you don't have to do horror. Obviously, I know hassle. But just
stay away from the horror. And I have one.
Okay.
So mine will be set in episode 6, or between episode 5 and 6. Vader's in the back of the tank, and he actually has a conversation with Qui-Gon. And Qui-Gon, tries to bring him back from the path of the dark side. And of course, he realizes very quickly in Vader's fear of the Emperor and his constant tortures that he puts him through every time he thinks about possibly deriving. So he manipulates Vader. Like, okay, if you're scared of the Emperor, but this is your son, this is the last piece of Padme you have. And he doesn't, tip his hat to Leia, obviously, because, that's a pivotal scene. So he tries to manipulate Anakin's love for his wife and what's left of her. And that starts planting the seeds. And you see the build up to where he actually turns. Be a good short. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to play the whole thing out. I mean, you know how it ends.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's most of these were shorts. They were 10-minute long episodes. So, I mean, to me, that works. I like it.
And if nothing else but the conversation, then Vader wakes up with the eyes, and maybe for a brief second it ends with blue eyes and cuts off.
So let me clarify your question a little bit, Rob. So you're asking, take a Star Wars story or something from Star Wars, and how would you do in that vision aspect, or are you asking to take a story outside of Star Wars and then put it into Star Wars, basically?
Either way, I mean, you remember Visions. I mean, the Ronin, which was the first one, it had nothing to do with Star Wars other than lightsabers and droids and stuff. So, I mean, it can be out of Star Wars, but it's got to be something that ties back to Star Wars, or it can be like Hassel, just a slight change. So, the sky's the limit. I should have put more tightness on it, but
that's fine.
Honestly, we don't know that didn't happen.
No, that's perfectly fine. I asked the question because it changed my answer because I had two options, and I'll just go ahead and give you both of them. But first one would be if I'm taking something inside of Star Wars universe and telling and retelling it from that Vision's perspective, I would take General Grievous and tell it from his perspective, tell the story from his perspective, how he ended up encased in that armor and how the Jedi are evil and they mangled him and destroyed what he was and how he ended up having to be put in that armor and then becoming the leader of that army because he wanted to do right because he assumes that they're bad because from his perspective they would have been, right? We're telling it from a different perspective of the story. Same story, but how did he become that? What was that, Rob?
From a certain point of view, right?
Yeah.
And that tagline, that's from a certain point of view.
Yeah. And if I was taking something from outside of Star Wars and saying, okay, how would I put that into Star Wars universe? I would take the TV show Leverage and I would put that back into the earlier Republic days and have these people pulling heists and scamming people and pulling heists to get them to better themselves and their local areas as kind of a thief doing better for their community type thing. But I would probably do it in the earlier Republic area before the Empire.
Kind of Robin Hoodish.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
Just blow my mind.
But
Dave Filoni's like tapping this right now. He's got 3 shows lined up.
But think about that from their perspective, because even, yes, everybody said the Republic was better than the Empire, but let's be honest, the Republic was still a corrupt government at that point. If you do it very early, like right before Clone Wars and all that, there was the rich, and then there was everybody else. And everybody else didn't have anything.
Now, the New Republic was no better because look at this episode of Mandalorian. I mean, they literally like, technically, they're not ours.
Yeah, exactly. So you take that Leverage crew who would, in that TV show, they always try to help people who were wronged by government or bad people or whatever. They always try to go in and steal back things for them and get retribution for them. So take that and put it out in the Star Wars aesthetic, and you have, you'd have a pilot, you'd have as they had said, they had a hitter, a hacker, a thief, all that. But you'd have to add in a pilot and a couple other things as well.
Do we maybe make this Lando Calrissian?
What if? Well, at that point it'd be too early. Maybe it was his parents.
Maybe it has to be young Billy D. Williams, not the other guy, the Glover guy.
Oh, before we get into too much trouble here, let's move into.
How about if Jamie Foxx is Lando's daddy? Can we go there?
We might could do that one. We might could take that into consideration for this. But before we take too far into consideration for that, it is about time for us to get out of here. We are running tight on time. But before we do that, let's give a shout out to some of our friends. And I'm going to try and make it through this without coughing to death. So we'll see how that goes. So first we have Mr. Wes Hartman, comic creator of DC and Marvel renown. And you can check out his imprint, Cosmic Roots, where you can catch series like The Savage Sasqanaut. You can find him on Facebook at Cosmic Root Studio, on Instagram at The Sasqanaut, and on his website, www.wes-hartman.com, where you can order all your copies of all his books and trades from. Don't forget, he does have a Sky Sharks Remastered Kickstarter running until April 20th. Check out our friend Chris Daly, the host of the Fueled by Weird podcast. You can find him on Instagram at Fueled by Weird, and on his podcast, Fueled by Weird, wherever you download your podcasts. Diorama and toy customizer Seth Stafford. You can find him on Instagram at Trophy Tunner Toys. Our friend, content creator, and autism activist, Miss Mandy Lynn, aka Kushimama. You can find her on Instagram at Kushimama, and on YouTube at Doodle's Toy Report, and her new channel, The Collector Sector, which Hassel, I think we're supposed to be on there in just a couple weeks here. Is it next week? Okay. For some reason, I was thinking it was 2 weeks, but it might be next week. It's
the 11th, whenever that is.
Yeah, that's next week then. Don't forget to check out August Aguilar from Strange Film Studios. They've got their project, The Gift, coming out pretty soon. I think the Kickstarter is still going on for that, so you can check that out as well. Mr. James B. Jefferson, creator of Warrior Island. You can find updates on the comic and the movie adaptation at the website warriorisland.com. And of course, last but certainly not least, extended Nerdy Manroom family member, Mr. Big Rob. You can find him on his channel, Big Rob's House of Entertainment and No Chinese Food.
No Chinese food!
Didn't know who was doing it this week. Where you can find out where you can catch all of his upcoming stuff. And Big Rob, is there anything you want to share that's coming up soon? I actually just watched your Red Sonja review today, honestly.
Gotcha. No, I got a couple of stories from not from WrestleMania, but from the kids that I watched for my niece and nephews. So I actually got a couple of stories this week, and I got to find a movie to review. So I'm going to go digging in the DVD stakes.
Hey, you can always go with Django. Just saying.
And
I probably seen it. So,
and I do have to make a little bit of fun because Big Rob, I watched your video of the gender reveal, and I make fun of anybody who does the gender reveal stuff. I'm like, really? Why? Can't you just tell everybody this is this? I mean, I realize there's like 300 different genders at this point, but can't we just tell everybody what we're having versus having this thing where you have to pop a balloon or a high fly or smoke screen or whatever? It's just at this point it's getting outrageous to me.
That's the South. We have to have that. My only issue was it took 16 minutes to get to it. I kept waiting. I was like,
sorry, I should have put it earlier in the show. Look, you know, and the whole thing, the whole thing, Chris and Kayla, they had no idea. It was a surprise for them, more than anybody else. That's the whole thing. I told Kayla, I said, that's a good thing you didn't ask me to fix that for you. I said, because I'd have damn sure put yellow powder in there instead of red or blue.
And don't get me wrong, I get it for the parents, and it's a cool thing for them to try and do. But at the same time, I'm like, isn't it just the biggest surprise if I just open this envelope and read what's in it?
Well,
it's a surprise either way.
You have to do it in front of all your friends and family, Monster. Come on.
Like Hassel said, we're rednecks. We got to do it a little bit different. I loved it. I went over there and seen it, but I did enjoy the video. So
and don't get me wrong, I am very happy for them. So congratulations to them. I just like making fun of it because I'll be honest with you, when I have another one, if I ever have another one, the only way y'all know is I'll be like, hey, so-and-so arrived today. I wouldn't even tell you till the lead up.
I can tell you this. If my bride gets pregnant, we're going to do a gender reveal where I body slam her when she hits the mat, the killer pops up.
I don't think she's going to go for this.
That might be more plan B. I don't know.
Oh, but since I interrupted our shout outs, before we leave here, let's make sure we give another shout out to the Zone Collectibles, our sponsor. You can find them on the internet at thezonecollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at The Zone Collectibles or in their store at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. Visit them for all your nerdy needs. Help them support the local artist community by supporting their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. And last but not least, before we leave here, Hassel, tell everybody where they can find us at.
Man, you can find us all over the place. You can hit us up on Facebook at Hassel Hutchinson via The Nerdy Manroom Show. Instagram at The Nerdy Manroom Show. Twitter, Nerdy MR Show. You can find us most importantly here on the YouTube Nerdy Manroom Show. And now we are on Southern Joy Media at The Nerdy Manroom Show.
And with that, that brings us to a close. But join us here next time as we discuss Power Rangers leading up to the 30th anniversary. Until then, living nerdy is the way.
This is the way.